Hey, Shalom, all praises unto Yahweh Shem Shai. Okay, double honors to the apostles of GreatMillStone, and honors to you brothers that be pushing this truth and sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. So I'm gonna do a quick video here on simp culture and this Edomite, which is the so-called white man. Okay, Edomite for the most part. Okay, it's Edomite origins. Okay, this simp culture that you have in this society today of a man having one woman, okay, a man having to bow down to a woman's every desire, okay, that's not biblical, and that's most certainly not our culture. It's not the culture of the Hebrew Israelites. So when you see the black Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and all the Israelites scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, you think about their culture, okay, their culturing, what they're about, is contrary against this simp culture, which is interesting because they'll be the ones, because we are the Israelites, okay, we do go overboard with everything. That's what makes us great when we do it in righteousness. But that's why you have a heavy spirit of simping, especially within the Negro, Hispanic, Native American community, okay? All right, and this comes not from our scriptures. Okay, this culture does not come from the Bible. Simping is not biblical. Simping is anti-biblical. Okay, it's against the scriptures, and we're gonna see it all about that. Okay, I'm not gonna go too deep into everything, and I don't really like doing too many videos regarding women because I find a hell of a lot of people watch those types of videos. But when it comes to the things that's going to be rudimentary for salvation, it gets a handful of hits here and there. But nevertheless, in the interest of staying circumspect and touching on every point, I'll do this one. And some of this material I got from Dallas. I believe the brothers in Dallas. I believe they had gone into some of this before, and I'll just touch on a few points. Okay, so it says the concept. So this is what happens when you go into the word romance. Okay, all right, with reference to the emotion love. Okay, which is actually a doing word. Okay, as in when you go to the book of 2 John, the first chapter and the 6th verse. Was it 2 John 1:6? Is it 2 John 1:6? All right. Forgive me if I misquote that scripture, but rather more direct that scripture. But the quote goes something like this. It says, "And this is love, that we walk after his commandments." This is talking about Dallas. Okay, this is the commandments that you have heard from the beginning. Okay, all right. So that's love according to the scriptures. Okay, so let's read a little bit of this. It says the concept of romantic love was popularized in Western culture by the concept of courtly love. Okay, so you can read that the rest for yourself if you will, but let's go into courtly love. Okay, so it says there, why courtly love, right, was a medieval European literary conception of love that emphasized nobility and chivalry. Okay, and that's what you hear these women be talking about, and that's what you hear a lot of these dudes, these simp individuals are talking about. You're gonna be chivalrous, you're gonna be do this, that, and the third. But that's not biblical. Okay, that's not how men conducted themselves in terms of biblical culture. Now, if you want to do something for your woman, dude, it's your woman. Okay, you do whatever you want to do with her. But as to set that up as chivalry as the standard, that's not biblical. Okay, so it says medieval literature is filled with examples of knights setting out on adventures and performing various services for ladies, okay, because of their courtly love. All right, so this is almost like an adulterous interaction, right? This was okay, and what's heavy about this word romance or this word love? This is a word that people use to do all types of wickedness upon the face of the planet right now. Okay, right under the guise of romance and love. And I ought to do a video on that word love and actually show you what it's supposed to, what it actually means, what it actually alludes to within the scriptures. Okay, because it's not what it is represented within this society. Okay, and underneath that word romance, a lot of people do a lot of wickedness, man. Right, going into adultery, going into all types of various abominations. Okay, homosexuality. Okay, All of them different things that they all spin off of this word, these two words, romance and love. That's how people try to justify their wickedness. Okay, it says this kind of love was originally a literary fiction. So this thing of romance has its origins within fiction. Okay, so within medieval European literary, which is books and what you know as poetry and so on and so forth, this concept of romance was incepted. Okay, and as you're gonna read here, it gained a larger audience, and by that's where you have this whole thing of simp culture spewing out of. But if you really want to talk about ancient biblical, and I'm not even ancient biblical, the Bible that you have today does not talk about all of this romance and emotional love and all of that, man. Okay, right? It talks about what we're gonna see within the scriptures in a second there. Okay, it talks about a man being the head of his household and ruling over his household. Okay, a family is supposed to be run as a business. Okay. That's how a family function. A family is supposed to run as the biggest business. I forget what movie that I've seen that from. Okay, I forget what movie that I recently seen that from, that statement from. But a family is supposed to be run like a business. Oh, Get Out. Okay, they told you that. So it says this kind of love is original. This kind of love is originally a literary fiction created for entertainment of nobility. But as time passed, these ideas about love changed and attracted a larger audience, right? In the high Middle Ages, a game of love developed around these ideas as a set of social practices. Loving nobility was considered to be an enriching and improving practice. Okay, courtly loving, it began in ducal and princely courts of Aquitaine province of Champagne, okay, Dugal, Burgundy, right, and Norman kingdom of Sicily at the end of the 11th century. In essence, courtly love, right, as you can see in depicted within the picture here, right, the romantic gestures expressed by a knight to a lady, right, a woman of so-called high standing, okay, which this interaction, if you go into if you're talking about biblical conduct, that's an act of adultery, because the scripture says that what? A man ain't supposed to be out there speaking with another man's woman. You ain't sitting with another man's wife. Because why? Because you're gonna get that fire roused up. Now, really, when you get into the understanding of how these different spirits work and how the Most High is gonna set it up within the kingdom, well, the Most High ain't gonna have it to where that feeling that you have between a man and a woman is gonna be there if you're dealing with another man's woman. Example of that is when you look at your mom, you don't look at your mom as another dude out there looks at your mom. That means that goes to show you that there's a spiritual side to it. Okay, so that's another thing. That's another proof that you ain't gonna have adultery in the kingdom. But more so than that, we know that we're gonna have the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High imprinted within our hearts. So that there ain't gonna be no more courtly love. And you see this kind of courtly love out there within the workplace. Okay, that whole workplace in these churches, it ain't nothing but an adulterous game, man. Okay, so let's carry on with this, not to sidetrack too much. And it says at the end of the 11th century, in essence, courtly love was an experience between erotic desires and spiritual attainment, a love of one illicit and morally elevating, passionate and disciplined, humiliating and exalting, and human and transcendent. So in essence, you can see the origins of this romance, or simping, if you will, okay, is not biblical. Okay, in fact, it's anti-biblical. As you can see, you got adultery in there. Okay, you got a man compassing to a woman. Okay, trying to impress a woman, right, which is not biblical. Okay, so let's move on. And it's not natural too. It's not natural too. And when you're talking about the biology of how a woman works, yeah, that they'll enjoy all of that for the power games and so on and so forth. But let's say a real man walks in the building, they ain't down with all of that simp culture. Well, guess what? They're gonna gravitate towards that individual. Okay, because that's natural. Okay, that's how the Most High set up the algorithm. Okay, so now let's go into monogamy. Another simp idea, right? Simp culture idea set up by Esau. Okay, so it says why we think monogamy is normal, right? It says, as I had noted in my last post, right? And this is some from Psychology Today. I've done, they do good articles on Psychology Today. They do very good articles on here. So I advocate anyone to go on there and read about, stuff that's meaningful, So it says, as I noted in my past post, right, the ethnographic evidence suggests that human nature is adapted to an ancestral mating system that was predominantly polygamous. Okay, one husband and multiple wives. Let's read that again for the simps out there. Okay, it says, as I noted in my last post, the ethnographic evidence suggests that, and I better check out what that word ethnographic means. So the ethnographic evidence suggests that human nature is adapted to an ancestral mating system that was predominantly polygamous, one husband, multiple wives. Most ancestral men aspired to polygamy, right? Even most weren't impressive enough to attract more than one wife. And it says some ancestral women preferred to be co-wives of really impressive men, or of a really impressive man, than the sole wife of a second-rate one. And we see the same thing today. Okay, we see the same thing today because that's just nature. Okay, that's just nature. Okay, it says in other words, the genetic we are genetically encoded psychologically. The genetically encoded psychological machinery of human mating behavior was built by and for a world in which striving for polygamy was often reproductively advantageous. That's why people living in modern day societies often seem inclined towards polygamy, even in cultures that have attempted to abolish it. And we're going to see how this was abolished. We're going to see that actually comes from Esau. Okay, that's a thing that comes from Esau. It says, and this point raises a key question. Why have some cultures attempted to abolish polygamy if our ancestors, our environments were so polygamous? Why is socially imposed monogamy the moral and legal prohibition of polygamy and so common in the modern societies? Or more accurately, why is it more common in the West? Polygamy remains legal and common in many non-Western societies, especially in sub-Saharan African and Islamic countries. Okay, right? Because that's natural, man. That's biblical, and that's what's natural. Okay, and they ain't and notice the countries that they've listed there. Those are countries where men are men. Okay. Now, for the most part, you ain't gonna really see too many simps out there within sub-Saharan Africa and them Islamic states, all right, them Islamic countries. Okay, so it says monogamy spread in the West had something to do with the influence of monogamy spread in the West had something to do with the influence of Christianity, but not as much as you might expect. Mainstream Christianity has always endorsed and forced monogamy. All right, and as Christianity spread across Europe in countries following the fall of Rome, monogamy spread along with it. However, Christianity's condemnation of polygamy has never been as straightforward as anti-polygamy church leaders would have you preferred, because no biblical passage explicitly prohibits plural marriage. Now, here's the proof of that. Isaiah the 4th chapter, this is prophecy. Isaiah the 4th chapter on the 1st verse, and says, in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread, we will our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Okay, that's plural marriage, and that's prophesied to come in the future. Okay, so the scriptures don't condemn it, and he's gonna get into it. Okay, and he says, indeed, right, leaders of breakaway Christians, Christian polygamous sects like the 16th century Anabaptists and the 19th century American Mormons have always been eager to point out several Old Testament figures, polygamists. Right, Abraham, for instance, had 2 wives simultaneously, and Solomon had 700 plus 300 concubines.
right? Cases for automatic association between Christianity and monogamy is weakened further by the fact that socially imposed monogamy was first established in ancient Greek and Rome. Okay, right? Here it is again. We're seeing the so-called white man, Esau, okay, disestablishing, right, the natural order of things. Okay, we see him disestablishing. Now, really, I might have to, when they're saying ancient Greece and Rome, that's Esau. Okay, now if they had said ancient Rome, then you have to do further digging and, see, okay, all right, this was established when in the time of the Etruscans, but they're saying ancient Greece and Rome, which leads me to the simple conclusion. This is Esau right here, disestablishing the natural order of things and promoting his weak nature, which is that simp culture. That simp culture is non-biblical and it's anti-Israelite culture. Okay, that is anti-Israelite culture. Okay, and it says, centuries before Christianity even existed, Greco-Roman laws, full stop. It says, Greco-Roman law prohibited any man from having more than one wife officially at a time. That's not Israelite culture. That's simp Edomite culture. And when we go to the scriptures in the book of Genesis, the 25th chapter, what does it say? It says that Esau shall be weaker than Jacob. All right, and you can see one of the reasons why he's weaker than Jacob, because he believes that having one woman to one man is advantageous. How can that be advantageous at all? Okay, right. The scripture says that you can't pop her when she's on her period, so that's a certain amount of time you can't relieve no stress right there. Okay, you gotta put her off, so you're just gonna be there in that bed alone. Come on, man. Okay, let's get serious now. Okay, so it says it's true that forms of de facto polygamy, e.g., concubinage, sex with slaves, continue to be tolerated in these societies. Nevertheless, anti-polygamy laws made Greco-Roman society relatively sexually egalitarian. Egalitarian. Right, because by preventing elite males from illegally acquiring multiple wives, they improved the ability of lower-ranking men to acquire wives of their own. Okay, so that's the reason that they was using it. But see, that's not our culture. That doesn't come from our culture. I mean, pretty much that's all I wanted from this article. Now let's just read a few examples of the Bible. So it says here, right, the question of polygamy is an interesting one in most people's view today. Polygamy is immoral, while the Bible nowhere explicitly condemns it. Right? In the first instance of polygamy, bigamy in the Bible was Lamech in Genesis, the 4th chapter and the 19th verse. Lamech married 2 women. Okay, several prominent men in the Bible were polygamists. Abraham, and that's important. Jacob, that's important. David, that's important. And Solomon. King Solomon was Yahushua himself, and he had hundreds of women. Okay, and others all had multiple and others all had multiple wives. Okay, so that whole simp culture, right, or for these 2 examples, of which those are very important 2 examples, because those are the driving force, okay, for having it to where a man's gonna bow down to a woman. Okay, if a man's got 2 women, you really think he's bowing down to neither one of them? No, he's an Israelite. He's gonna be smooth about how he conducts his business. All right, he's gonna be, he's gonna do what he's gotta do. Right, but at the end of the day, when you got multiple wives, you ain't really too fussed about too many things right there. Okay, and further to that thing of romance, that goes out the window. It becomes more like a functioning business. Okay, right. In other words, you got employees. All the employees are fighting for your time so they could be elevated, so that the whole household could be elevated. Okay, roughly paraphrasing, paraphrasing how a business works. Okay, so with that, hopefully that was edifying. Okay, double honors the apostles of Great Millstone. Honest you brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity. And I shall see you on Lord's will. I'll see you on the next one. Shalom.